After Mom died, Dad would come into my room every night. Not to comfort me, but to beat me, the 7-year-old me. Dad apologized to me, saying he missed Mom so much that he couldn't hold himself back. But 2 months later, Dad brought home a woman, an aunt, who also brought along a sister a few months older than me. After that, the beatings became even more frequent. Dad always told me I should learn more from my sister, how excellent and well-behaved she was, while all I had left were mischief and thoughtlessness. A month later, Dad took me to the orphanage. He told me to tell the director that my parents were dead and begged her to take me in. But I was beaten until I nearly died. Even then I refused to let go of Dad's leg. I didn't want to leave my only kin. The orphanage refused to take me. After I was brought back home, the beatings only grew worse. After I, as I'd hoped, was admitted to a good prestigious university through the Gaokao, my father knocked me down into a pool of blood, just because my sister tore up my university acceptance letter and I fought with her. Amelia, when you get to the orphanage, make sure you tell them both your parents are dead. I'm your neighbor uncle, you hear me? Father reached out and twisted my back hard. It hurt terribly. I looked up at him, and his face was cruel, reminding me of the moment in my previous life when he smashed a vase down on my head with savage force. At that time, when he looked at me, it was like he was looking at the enemy who'd killed his child. He saw me silent, and he began again. Your stepmother Margaret said that if we send you to the orphanage, we'll have an extra quota for childbirth. She's willing to bear me another son. Don't look at me with that expression. Whose fault is this? Blame me if you must, but why blame anyone else? It's because you're not a son. Your mother didn't give me a son either. Is it so wrong for me to want a son now? Your mother is already dead. Don't accuse your father of being cruel. From today on, you're going to the orphanage. Consider that you no longer have a father. I watched my father's merciless face. I don't know why God had given me life again, but since I had been reborn, I would make a different choice. I'm no longer that 7-year-old, bewildered little girl. In the orphanage, the director glanced at me, then at my father. Your name is Leon? This little girl's name is Amelia? She's not your biological daughter? My father hastened to distance himself from me. No, it's just a coincidence. This little girl's parents are both dead, that's why I brought her to the orphanage. I'm just a kind neighbor. The director crouched down and looked at me very gently. Amelia? Where are your parents? Right now, as long as I keep insisting that Leon is my biological father, I can stay in the orphanage. In my previous life, I clung to this only relative. Even when Dad beat me in front of the director, I wouldn't let go of his leg. But the days that followed made life worse than death. I lifted my head and looked at the director with a steady, calm gaze. My mother died of illness, and my father went out and was hit by a car. My father's expression froze, looking rather unpleasant. The director, hearing what I said, sadly ruffled my hair. Then would you like to stay at the orphanage? I can find you a new mom and dad. I nodded without hesitation. I would. My father was a bit taken aback, because at home I had been crying and kicking up a fuss, refusing to come to the orphanage, but he didn't know that now I was so cooperative. At the thought that once he went back, Margaret would agree to give him a son, Dad rubbed his hands together in glee. Mr. Leon, this is the name you need to sign. These documents have legal effect. First, you must confirm that this girl's parents are deceased. Second, you must guarantee that you are not abandoning her. Third, once you sign, any legal guardianship this girl had will be terminated from today. Additionally, if you conceal anything, you will face more than 10 years in prison. Do you understand? Dad hesitated for only 3 seconds, then picked up the pen and signed and pressed his fingerprint, nervous and excited. Before leaving, he glanced at me. I looked at him with no expression, as if he had nothing to do with me. He pulled me to the door and still whispered, Amelia, I won't be your father anymore, understand? If you ever see me again, what will happen? I looked at him and retorted, do we know each other? My father's face showed some astonishment, and after a moment he nodded with a pleased look. Good, very good. He stood up and walked out, his figure receding into the distance, never even looking back. I knew, he was busy going home to father a son. And I, finally, drew a big, definitive period on that family, on Leon. Life in the orphanage was far more comfortable than the days at home after Mom died. I could finally sleep soundly, and I would no longer be beaten for no reason. Once the wounds on my body healed, the director began looking for a family to adopt me. For an orphanage now, taking in abandoned children like us without parents had very loose intake procedures. But the adoption process was very complicated. Everything about the adopters, their age, background, income, and job, was scrutinized one by one. Until that day, the director led him in front of me. The director crouched by me and whispered, "Amelia, this is Uncle William. He knows your parents and his situation is quite good. He wants to adopt you now. Try to win him over yourself, okay?" I looked at Uncle William. He was smiling at me, holding a doll in his arms. I actually still had some recollection of Uncle William. My parents once invited Uncle William over for dinner. At the time, my mother wanted Uncle William to help find a job for my father. Uncle William liked me very much. He held me and played with me for a long while, and before he left he gave me a huge doll. "It's just a pity that now that doll is on Margaret's daughter's bed." My father said, "It's just a doll. Your sister has only just come to this family, can't you give it to her?" Uncle William studied me for a long moment, then asked softly, "Amelia, do you still remember Uncle?" I nodded, then shook my head. "I have nothing to do with that family anymore. Everyone who knew me there should be completely forgotten. Amelia, Uncle is here to take you home." I shook my head and refused. "I'm fine here. I don't like home, and I don't like you." Uncle William didn't get angry. Instead he crouched beside me and shoved the doll into my hands. "Uncle remembers you like purple dolls. This is a gift Uncle prepared for you. It's okay if you don't like Uncle, it must be because Uncle isn't good enough. From now on, if Amelia doesn't like something, Uncle will change it. Let Uncle William be your dad, okay?" I glanced at him and failed to catch the doll. "My parents are both dead." Uncle William reached out, picked me up, set me on his lap, and shoved the doll into my arms. "Amelia, from now on Uncle will love you as his own daughter. Trust Uncle." I looked at the doll in my arms. This doll was even more exquisite than the one Uncle William gave me last time. "I like purple," I didn't expect him to remember. "But I'm still very sensible. My biological father doesn't love me." "You're not my father. What right do you have to treat me like your own daughter?" It was the first time I'd ever seen such a big man cry. He cried hard. Tears fell onto the back of my hand, and in an instant it was wet. After a long while he composed himself and said softly, "Amelia, actually, your mother and I were high school classmates. We used to be neighbors and grew up together. She helped me before. If not for her, I might have died long ago. I just want to protect her only daughter now. There's an adjustment period for adoption. If within a year you're not happy with me as your new dad, you can come back at any time. Just give me 1 year, okay?" I saw the regret and ache in Uncle William's eyes. I lowered my eyes and asked softly, "Uncle William, if you adopt me, will your family agree?" Uncle William paused, then finally smiled and nodded. "Uncle William's family is also looking forward to your arrival." I don't know why, but I suddenly nodded and agreed to Uncle William adopting me. Maybe it was the sincerity in him, and maybe it was because I truly needed a father's love. I told myself there was still a year to adjust anyway. If Uncle William treated me badly, I'd run back to the orphanage. After I followed Uncle William through the door, I was stunned by the sight before me. Uncle William lived in a neat, tidy building. The house was large and lavishly furnished. A boy suddenly jumped out, holding a box and winking at me. "My new little sister, this is the present I prepared for you." I timidly hid behind Uncle William. The boy smiled and opened the box. Inside were all airplanes and superheroes. Uncle William smiled at the boy and said, "Amelia is a girl, how could she possibly like these?" The boy scratched his head, looking embarrassed. But these are all I have, and they're my favorites." Right now my favorite person is my little sister, so I'm giving these to her. Uncle William grinned and introduced, Amelia, from now on he's your brother. Turning, Uncle William glared at him. Aren't you going to introduce yourself? He immediately stood up straight and smiled at me. My name is Henry. Uncle William put everything away and smiled at the two of us. Amelia, today Uncle has made a table of good food for you. You and Henry go play first. I watched Uncle William bustling around the kitchen. Henry came over, reached out and took my hand. I'll take you to see your room, Dad and I prepared it together for you. I followed Henry into the room and was stunned. Everything inside was purple, purple curtains, a purple bedding set, purple stickers, purple stuffed animals. Dad said you like purple. Daddy and I have been preparing this for many days. Only then did I realize that Uncle William hadn't just decided to adopt me today, he had secretly been preparing for a long time. Amelia, from today on, you have a dad, and you have me as your brother. No one can bully you, or dare to. Henry patted his chest. He was only 2 or 3 years older than me, but he gave off a complete sense of safety. I grinned at him. I think I'm starting to like this home. I thought there would be no more intersection between me and Leon's family, but I didn't expect to see my so-called sister, Tiffany, after transferring into Class A at Elementary School A. Elementary School A in this city is extremely hard to get into. Originally my mother had secured a spot for me, but after she died, Leon, trying to curry favor with Margaret, gave that spot to his current daughter Tiffany. I sat down, and when I turned my head I saw Tiffany looking at me with a sneer. After class, she came up to me with her friends. Hey, transfer student, I'm curious how you got into this school. You wouldn't be trying to get close to me on purpose, would you? I looked at Tiffany's arrogant face, felt nothing for her, and walked toward the door. Amelia. Tonight I'll tell my dad that you deliberately followed me. I stood there, looked back at her, contempt flooding my eyes. Do you think you deserve that? I left the classroom, leaving her behind to throw her tantrum. For the next half day, she and the classmates around her began to bully me. I didn't want to argue with her, but she kept picking fights. Let me tell you, she's just a kid whose mother died and whose father abandoned her. She's an orphan now. When I came out of the bathroom, I heard Tiffany spreading all kinds of rumors in class. When she saw me come out, Tiffany's smile grew even more triumphant. Oh, you're out? I walked up to Tiffany and slapped her across the face. Actually, I'd been wanting to slap her for a long time. In my previous life, she did all sorts of things to target me, but she had her mother and a father, while I only had a stepfather who was worse than no father at all. Tiffany, you're as disgusting as your mother. I looked at Tiffany and shouted at her, you took the spot at Elementary School A that belonged to me, and now that I've earned my place on my own, what right do you have to talk about me? Your mother slept with my father to take my spot and give it to you, shouldn't you owe me some gratitude? And now you have the nerve to slander me? If you want to spread rumors, fine. Let's talk about how your gambling-addicted biological father ended up in prison with a 20-year sentence. And let's talk about how your vicious mother got into my father's bed and then dealt with me. Your parents are just as vicious, which is why they gave birth to a vicious child like you, right? All of you want to play along with that vicious person? You helped her lock me in the bathroom and think you're so great? You're nothing but accomplices of the daughter of a man behind bars. I roared, my voice thunderous, as if I were venting the resentment over her tearing up my acceptance letter in my past life. This is first grade, all children. Most of them are naturally kind, and when they heard me say that, they immediately put some distance between themselves and Tiffany. Even if they didn't pity me as a weak, pathetic kid, they would still keep away from a classmate whose parents are so vile as Tiffany's. Tiffany saw me and roared instantly. Amelia, you bitch. She meant to slap me, but someone stepped in front of me first. It was Henry. Henry grabbed Tiffany's hand and, with a flip of his wrist, slapped her. My expression changed because I saw the homeroom teacher come in. I knew I was in trouble. The explicit rule at Elementary School A was that fighting would result in being transferred. The three of us were all taken to the academic affairs office. The director of student affairs first asked about the cause of the incident. Tiffany, as the sole victim, wept as she recounted how I had spread rumors about her in class, how I had beaten her, and how Henry had bullied her. These days the school is very sensitive about bullying, so they harshly reprimanded Henry and me. How did you get into the school? I see you're a transfer student. The director glanced at my school records, frowned and asked. I didn't know either. After all, the person who handled my enrollment was Uncle William. Before Henry could speak, Tiffany burst out impatiently, she's a child from the orphanage. The head of discipline frowned, glanced at me, and said, I don't know what the people handling admissions were thinking. How could they casually let a child like you enroll? Call your family and get them to arrange a transfer for you as soon as possible. Tiffany wore a smug look at those words. I lowered my head. On my very first day of school I'd already caused trouble for Uncle William, and I didn't know what to say. Henry picked up the phone and called back. He turned to look at me and said softly, Dad went to a meeting. I can't reach him right now. I'll try again in a little while. Tiffany was the first to cry as she called Leon. Before long, Leon and Margaret hurried over. Seeing Tiffany's flushed face, Leon quickly strode toward me. Henry shielded me behind him, watching Leon warily. Leon reached out to grab my arm, but Henry caught him and bit him. Leon shoved Henry to the ground and cursed, Do you want to die? I think you deserve a beating. I hurried to help Henry, but Leon grabbed my wrist and dragged me in front of Tiffany. A 7-year-old child simply couldn't stand up to an adult man. I felt a little worried. Henry stood up, rubbed his arm and shouted at Leon, Let her go. The discipline head walked over, frowning at the scene. Everyone let go. If you have something to say it properly. Leon pointed at Tiffany, his face full of indignation. Look at what they've done to my daughter. You have to give an explanation. Otherwise I'll make a scene. I'll let everyone know my child is being bullied at A Elementary. The discipline head quickly softened his tone. Tiffany's father, please don't be angry. Our school will definitely investigate this matter thoroughly. Does this even need investigating? She beat my daughter, and him too. I demand that your school expel those 2 children and never admit them again. Margaret shouted from the side. Leon hurriedly nodded, yes. They must be expelled. The head of discipline quickly agreed, Don't worry, we've investigated this thoroughly. Those 2 kids did bully others, and they will certainly be expelled. Hearing that, I cried out, Is that my fault? I'm the one who was bullied. I lifted my head without a trace of weakness and looked at the dean. She started bullying me. I only fought back. I will never be like in my last life, suffering abuse without explaining myself. Now I'm not part of Leon's family, I have to speak up. For myself, for Uncle William and for Henry. Tiffany stomped her foot and looked at Leon with feigned grievance. Daddy, she's clearly jealous of me, that's why she came to a primary, and even made sure she's in my class. She came just to get back at me. When Leon heard that, he looked at me as if I were a murderer. I know you've been jealous of Tiffany from the start, that's why you came to this school, isn't it? Tell me why you enrolled in Tiffany's class. Get out of A Elementary right now. Margaret dabbed at her eyes and said, choking up, If she keeps haunting and tormenting Tiffany like this, how am I supposed to have the energy to bear a child? Leon grabbed my wrist in one motion. You're going back to the orphanage right now. Is this school yours? Do you really have the authority to throw me out? I snapped, trying to pull free from Leon, but the difference in strength between us was far too great. Let her go. Henry stepped forward and yanked at Leon, shouting recklessly, Somebody help, someone's trying to traffic a child. The head counselor watched the scene, frowning. Stop making a scene. I'll contact your guardian right away and have them take you home. Leon grudgingly let go of my wrist and said in a low voice, Do you want the whole school to know you're an orphan? Just then, Principal Victor walked in. Seeing this scene, Principal Victor frowned and said, Hasn't this matter been dealt with yet? The dean stepped forward and hurriedly said, Principal Victor, we don't know who brought this girl in. She started a fight today, I'm contacting her guardian right now. Principal Victor came forward, saw it was me, and paused. Amelia? It was Principal Victor who had handled my enrollment. Principal Victor asked with a concerned look, what's going on? I hung my head and, looking pitiful, said, I'm sorry, Principal Victor. If I'd known, I wouldn't have come to school at all. Who would have thought that as a transfer student I'd make others hate me? They locked me in the bathroom and mocked me, saying my parents are dead and nobody wants me. I was so angry I hit her. Later she tried to hit me back, and Henry came. Principal Victor, this isn't Henry's fault. I remember your posters say that when you're bullied you must learn to fight back. Principal Victor patted my shoulder and looked at the Dean of Discipline. Have you investigated this thoroughly? At that, the Dean hurriedly explained, Principal Victor, whatever the case, it's wrong for that girl to hit someone. Both of them hit someone, so they should be punished. Principal Victor smiled, looking at the Dean of Students, you only became Dean this year, didn't you? It seems this role really isn't suited for you. Principal Victor's expression turned instantly grave, now pull up all the surveillance footage, including the cameras outside the restrooms and the classroom cameras. I want to review the footage and see what they said and did. The Dean of Students hurriedly agreed, all right. Principal Victor looked at me earnestly and said softly, if you truly were pushed into fighting back because of bullying, I will definitely deal with her, and I will even commend you. Principal Victor, this child has been a bad kid since she was little, I watched her grow up. Leon pointed at me and added, think about it, can a child without parents have a proper character? Who said she has no father? Principal Victor looked at Leon and countered. Leon went ashen in an instant, then turned to glare at me as if warning me. He seemed afraid I might say he was my father. Henry finally got through on the phone, then, his face beaming, handed the phone to Principal Victor, my dad says you should take the call. Henry tugged at me and whispered, Dad will be here any minute. I felt terribly guilty. I couldn't imagine how Uncle William would feel, seeing the trouble I caused on my first day of school. Would he regret adopting me? After Principal Victor finished the call, the dean had already brought over all the surveillance footage. Principal Victor glanced at the dean and said, hold on, this child's father. Uncle William arrived, bursting in as always. I cautiously hid behind Henry. Amelia. The first thing Uncle William did after coming in was rush toward me. My heart sank. Just when I thought I was about to be hit, Uncle William pulled me into his arms. It's okay, Daddy's here, Daddy's here. You were scared, weren't you? I froze. Leon, seeing the scene, froze too. He probably hadn't expected that after only a month apart I'd already have a new father. Uncle William let go of me, looked at my reddened eyes, and hurriedly reproached himself, it's all Daddy's fault. Daddy was busy in a meeting and turned his phone off, so I couldn't answer right away. From now on Daddy won't turn off his phone during meetings. Amelia, were you being bullied at school? I choked and shook my head, whispering, I was the one who hit someone. Principal Victor smiled obsequiously and stepped forward, addressing Uncle William, Mr. William, this is the full video. We've been waiting for you to watch it with us. Uncle William picked me up and walked over to watch with the others as the video showed how I was locked in the bathroom, and how Tiffany led the mocking and provocation that angered me. The moment I slapped Tiffany, Uncle William was immediately the first to praise, well done, that slap wasn't nearly enough. Who is this child with no manners? Then Henry appeared, blocking Tiffany's slap and striking back. Well done, Henry, you did really well today. I noticed Leon had stopped speaking. I turned to look and saw Leon staring at Uncle William in shock. Oh, right, he knew Uncle William. It was clearly you, this ill-bred child, who struck first. Why are you saying my child is ill-bred? Margaret demanded loudly of Uncle William. Before Uncle William could speak, Leon hurriedly pulled Margaret behind him, flashed a flattering smile at Uncle William and said, Mr. William, do you still remember me? Last time, Nadia and I treated you to a meal, you even came to my house, remember? If I'm not mistaken, you and Nadia have been old friends. Margaret frowned and tugged at Leon. What are you doing? Now is the time to stand up for Tiffany. Leon nudged Margaret and gave her a look. I saw it with my own eyes, and thinking it over carefully, my mother and Uncle William were very close. She even asked Uncle William to help arrange work for Leon. Could it be that Leon's jobs were all arranged by Uncle William? They say Leon's current job is very good, relatively easy and well paid. Or, in other words, is Uncle William Leon's boss? Uncle William could give Leon this job with a single word, and with a single word he could also take it away. It was your child who bullied Amelia first. Uncle William's face darkened, his presence imposing. I had never seen this side of Uncle William before. He always wore a kind smile toward Henry and me. So he really is very stern when he gets angry, huh? Yes, it's all our fault. Leon hurriedly pulled Tiffany aside. I'll have Tiffany apologize to Amelia right now. What a coincidence, it's like the flood washed away the Dragon King's temple. The whole family can't even recognize each other. Uncle William shot Leon a sidelong glance. Who are you calling family? Since you admit your child was at fault, what good is an apology? Principal Victor, I want your school to give my child an explanation. Principal Victor nodded repeatedly and said earnestly, Mr. William, rest assured, our school will handle this matter properly. Give us 1 day, we only need 1 day. Uncle William nodded, then reached out and picked me up. Principal Victor, does this child really have a place to enroll? Shouldn't this matter be looked into as well? Principal Victor hurriedly nodded as well. All right, I'll make sure to find out the truth. Uncle William waved to Henry. Come on, Henry, let's go home. Today I'll take you all out for a big meal, cheer you up a bit. I was actually still very puzzled. Leon's respectful attitude toward Uncle William the First could understand. But why was Principal Victor also treating Uncle William with such deference? Amelia, why have you been so quiet? Are you frightened today? Uncle William looked at me and asked softly. After Mom died, no one had ever looked out for me like this. Honestly, it touched me deeply. I wrapped my arms around Uncle William's neck and buried my face in his chest. For the first time, I felt how wonderful it is to have a father. Uncle William took Henry and me to the biggest restaurant in the city and treated us to a lavish feast like nothing I had ever eaten. Then Uncle William took the two of us to the amusement park for half a day. When he saw me smiling, he finally relaxed. The place we lived was just across a crosswalk from a primary school. The next morning, bright and early, Uncle William said he would take Henry and me to school. Uncle William held Henry's and my hands and explained things to us. From today on, remember, if anyone bullies you at school, fight back. Whatever happens, Dad's got your back. Understand? Henry and I both nodded. I was so happy yesterday that I just reached out and hugged Uncle William without letting go, but I didn't call him Dad. I don't know if that disappointed him, but I simply couldn't bring myself to say it. Henry and I went into the school and waved at Uncle William. The world of children easily distinguishes right from wrong. The school had judged Tiffany to be at fault, so the kids in the class suddenly became especially warm toward me. Tiffany didn't speak all day today. At dismissal she was called away by the dean. After that, Tiffany never returned to the class. Henry and I were stopped by Leon again after school. When we saw Leon, Henry and I prepared to take a detour. Amelia, you're still mad at me, aren't you? I really know I was wrong. I'll make Tiffany apologize to you, okay? Now Tiffany's going to be expelled from school. Are you really happy about that? Amelia, what exactly do you want? You're doing this on purpose, aren't you? Why are you with William, and how did he become your father? Leon blocked us when he saw Henry and me ignoring him. Amelia. What do I have to say for you to talk to me? Mr. Leon, are we that close? I retorted, speechless. Leon's face turned as ugly as if he'd swallowed chicken manure. Amelia, your father really has no other choice. He wants to ask you for a favor. I frowned, and said coldly, you're not my father. I have nothing to do with you. My father is William. Leon's face darkened. Amelia, are you really that heartless? You think you're so great just because you went to a rich family's home? But no matter when, the blood that runs through you is Leon's. I looked at him and answered icily, you deserve that? Or do you dare to go say those words at the orphanage? He didn't dare, because if he spoke them he would face more than 10 years in prison. Seeing Leon trying to come closer, Henry shouted, if you come any closer, I'll call someone. There are strange people by the teacher's area. Like child traffickers, he's trying to kidnap my sister. When Leon heard Henry cry out like that again, he sighed and turned to run away. Henry grabbed my hand, crossed the street, and ran into the residential complex. Henry only mentioned it to me later, by chance. It turned out Uncle William donated huge sums to elementary school A every year. All the students' daily lavish free lunches at elementary school A were also paid for by Uncle William. No wonder Principal Victor treated Uncle William that way, he's the school's big benefactor. After that I didn't see Tiffany again. A classmate told me she transferred, moving to an elementary school out in the suburbs. I guessed she probably went to the very elementary school I once attended. The school required an hour-long bus ride to and from each day. As a transfer student in first grade I faced another problem. In a month there would be an exam, after which they would reassign me to a class. Each grade at A Elementary was divided into honors classes, advanced classes, and parallel classes. When Uncle William heard this he patted my shoulder consolingly. It won't matter which class you end up in, you're Dad's pride, don't be nervous. Wait until winter break, I'll take you and Henry to the beach. However, I still managed to get into the honors class, and the school gave me a certificate and a trophy. Because I changed classes, I got out of school earlier than Henry, so I waited at the school gate for him to go home together. Leon saw me from afar, he hurried over and softly called my name. When I turned around, I saw a somewhat haggard Leon, stubble already starting to show. His eyes reddened, and he hurriedly said, Amelia, I just came to see you. I took a step back, speaking cautiously and calmly, I'm not close to you, and I'm not your daughter. My father is already dead, killed by a car. Leon looked at me with a bit of bitterness, choking up as he said, now Dad's lost his job too. If you want me to help you find a job, then you've come to the wrong person. I kept a safe distance from Leon. Leon hurriedly shook his head, looking at me with aching eyes, Amelia, Dad regrets it. Margaret even said she'd give me a son for you, but she was lying all along, she can't have children at all. I thought of my previous life, because I failed to be sent to the orphanage. Margaret would often cry and make a scene, saying her greatest regret was not having borne Leon a son. Every time it came to that, Leon would beat me mercilessly and hurl the cruelest curses at me. He believed I was the biggest obstacle to him having a son. I am a stumbling block, a burden. Later Margaret told Leon she could no longer have children, wanting a son had driven her into depression and led to infertility. Leon felt even more guilty toward Margaret, and his feelings toward me grew all the more resentful and bitter. I often saw the vicious look Leon gave me. When he beat me he seemed to want to strangle me. This is also why, the day Tiffany tore up my college acceptance letter, when I merely struck back once, Leon beat me down into a pool of blood. Now, watching Leon look so remorseful, I found that something inside me had finally settled. Amelia, Daddy deeply regrets sending you to the orphanage. Can you forgive Daddy? This gentleman, I don't know you. My father is called William. I lifted my chin and, at last, spoke Uncle William's name in the clearest voice. Leon's lips moved, and finally he sighed. It was Daddy's fault, Daddy lost his mind, Daddy trusted the wrong woman. He shook his hand, glancing at the trophy and the top student certificate in my arms, and in that instant his tears began to flow uncontrollably. I saw Henry come out, wave his hand, and step forward with a smile. Amelia, you made it into the honors class, that's amazing. I've heard all about it, you came first in the whole school. Henry praised me sincerely, taking my hand. Come on, let's go tell Dad the good news. Henry and I passed by Leon as if he didn't exist, as if he never had. Uncle William knew I had come first in the school, his eyes were watering with happiness. Amelia, do you know? Your mother was first in her grade from childhood all the way through. Whenever I looked at her, it was with admiration. Uncle William smiled, thinking for a moment. Let Daddy think, what should we reward you with? I reached up and put my arms around Uncle William's neck. Daddy, I want to eat the food you make. Uncle William froze for a moment, tears uncontrollably welling up again. He nodded over and over, so mute he couldn't form a complete sentence. Okay, Daddy. Daddy will cook for you. Henry and I grinned as we watched our flustered, chattering dad head into the kitchen. I think, living like this is really wonderful. It turns out the meaning of being reborn is to see more of the world's complexities, to not strangle yourself on a single tree, and not be driven to death by one desperate situation. Maybe sometimes giving up on a dead end lets you choose another path where willows brighten and flowers bloom. At least that's who I am now. The father-daughter bond between Leon and me died in the last life. In the blink of an eye, I graduated from high school. Thanks to the effort I put in both this life and the last, I successfully got into the best university in the country. The day I received my acceptance letter, reporters from the city came to interview me. I smiled, hugging Dad and Henry, beaming radiantly at the cameras. Maybe I used to be nothing, but now I'm the person Dad and Henry care about most. Dad and Henry smiled at me, one on each side, pulling me into the middle. I held the acceptance letter as we took a photo together. Leon, Margaret, Tiffany ending. In a rundown old house, Leon poured a glass of white liquor. Margaret limped over from the kitchen carrying a dish, carefully placing it on the table. We didn't buy any meat today, so make do with it. Leon drained the cup of white liquor in one gulp, then grabbed Margaret by the hair and slapped her. You bitch, did you do that on purpose? Today is Amelia's birthday and you only made one dish? Margaret hunched her shoulders, eyes full of indignation. The money's all gone. Leon sprang up suddenly and started punching and kicking Margaret. All gone? I only gave you $500, already used up? Did you give it to your daughter? I didn't. Today's report, we interviewed this year's top college entrance exam scorer in the city. This beautiful girl is called Amelia. She scored 721 on the Gaokao and is reportedly already admitted early to Tsinghua University. Leon loosened his grip and looked at the television. On the TV, I reached out to embrace William and called warmly, Dad, thank you. He looked again at the Tsinghua University acceptance letter in my hand, and Leon's tears fell all at once. Amelia got into Tsinghua University. She's the top scorer in our city's college entrance exam. My daughter got into Tsinghua University, Tsinghua. My daughter, Leon's daughter. She's something else. Margaret's expression darkened a few shades, she ground her teeth. Over the years, if she hadn't had an affair and been caught by Leon, had she not had her leg broken and lost the ability to earn money to support Tiffany's schooling, she never would have stayed by Leon's side. Leon's temper had worsened in recent years, he lashed out and hit people at the slightest provocation. Yet he could give her money openly and still allow Tiffany to attend school normally. Mom, I'm back. Tiffany returned, crestfallen. Mom, I want to repeat a year. I only got into a vocational college this year, I'm afraid I won't get into a university. Margaret shot Tiffany a fierce look and dragged her to glance at the TV. On the screen, my name overlapped with the words City Gaokao top scorer, which made Tiffany especially furious. How could that bitch possibly get into Tsinghua University? It must be a mistake. Leon spun around at those words. Margaret tried to step between them but was slapped aside, then Leon grabbed Tiffany, seized a nearby vase and smashed it down with all his might. Sleep, whoever let you speak, you little bitch, you're the little bitch, both you and your mother are bitches. Leon stared blankly at Tiffany lying in a pool of blood. Terrified, he panicked and bolted wildly out of the room. Bang! A car struck Leon, sending him flying. He collapsed into a pool of blood.